Hello, Hopkinton, and welcome to the October 13th edition of the Hangout Hour. I'm your host for this evening, Matt Clark. Tonight we have a pre-recorded segment for your enjoyment, where Mike Tarosian chats with Hopkinton DPW Director John Westerling about the many projects we have currently ongoing in town, as well as the marathon happening earlier this week. Well, let's get right into it. Hope you enjoy.
Hey, John, welcome back to the Hangout Hour.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here as always.
Oh, great. So again, we only going to be talking for 20 minutes, and boy, we always got too much to talk about. So let's get started. I want to talk a little bit about the water. We had, I guess, something going on with the Fruit Street wells. Can you explain that to us?
So the Massachusetts Department of Environmental Protection requires communities to test their water for polyfluoroalkyl substances, or PFAS 6. And those are man-made forever chemicals that are used in firefighting foam, non-stick items, non-stain items, and we actually found it in one of our wells. So what that requires us to do, we sent out public educational material that's required by DEP with standard language. We also put information on our DPW website. I met with the Board of Selectmen, or the Select Board, excuse me, last week to tell them about PFAS in the water and to let them know what folks should and shouldn't do and what they should be concerned about and not concerned about.
Excellent. So, yeah, we posted those online at HCAM as well for you. We love following you. And I tell you, one of the best ways to get information on the DPW and everything that you're doing, and some current, information such as emergencies, Twitter is fantastic. You guys are really great on getting the word out to the public via Twitter.
Thank you very much. We try to let folks know of current events and things that are happening and things that they should maybe think about. But it's just a good way for us to promote the hard work that the men and women do here day in and day out for this community. So I appreciate the feedback. Thank you.
Excellent. So now you just did some excellent work in paving. Did you finish your paving projects?
We did. Actually, no, there's one more street, Lumber Street, which will be paved tomorrow or Thursday, depending upon the weather. That is the last section to go, and that's going to go from Granite to the Milford Town line. That section of roadway was in very bad shape, so we're pleased to be able to get that done, and that will round out all the work that we've done this year. So kudos to our highway manager, Mike Manser, who managed all the work that was going on with the cold in place recycling, and the guys that have been supporting that here. So I think that we've done a fabulous job this year. So credit goes out to our team.
Great. And for people that want to know more about the cold in place replacing, you guys put together a little video on how it was done.
Yeah, we've been working with a public relations firm, and they came out and if you can make me look good and make a subject like cold in place recycling at least interesting, then you've done a great job. And they truly did a great job. And it features Mike Manser talking about the process, and it's got some good video on the actual work on the street. So we're very pleased with the way that came out.
Yeah, and as a citizen and a person who drives in town, we appreciate it too, because we didn't have the roads torn up for weeks at a time.
Yeah, it really turns that process around very quickly. So I appreciate the feedback.
Yeah, the few extra minutes in your commute going by the process was well worth driving over the dirt roads, especially where I like to be on my motorcycle in these nice warm months. And I didn't have to deal with that at all. That was great. So we can find that video on your Twitter. You can find it on the hopkintonma.gov website on your page as well.
Yes, so, yeah, it's out there. If people can't find it, if they want to see it, just shoot me an email and I'll send you a link.
And speaking about paving, I think one of the most happiest things that I'm hearing from around town is the downtown corridor project, where all of Main Street was paved, and that was all in preparation for that little race that comes to town on Monday.
Yeah, that little race. So credit goes to Dave Del Torio, who's the project manager for that. He worked very closely with the Massachusetts Department of Transportation We've got 20,000 plus runners who are going to be running that section of roadway on Monday. They're elite runners. They're runners from across the world. These people train for years to be ready. We don't need someone twisting an ankle or missing the race because of trenches in the road. And there were a lot of trenches there. Eversource, they came back and they brought their trenches up to grade. All the trench work that's being done for the Main Street project, those were all settled. We met with the contractor and said they had to be brought up to grade, and Mass DOT just figured it would be easier to just pave it curb to curb from Pleasant Street to just beyond the start line. So that's what they did. That's only temporary pavement. That is just to get us through the marathon and make the marathon runners safe on our roads. There will be additional excavation that goes into that fresh pavement. It's only a skim coat, so there's not a lot there. Right. But there'll be excavations for all the overhead utilities that are going underground, the electric, the telephone, the cable, all of that. They're going to start that construction as soon as the marathon is over. So that is forthcoming.
Okay, so we will have more work. It's not going to be that smooth throughout the winter, because I know that on normal projects, road openings end November 15th, correct. I believe. Yeah, November 15th, you shut off the road openings.
We do. We have allowed in the past, if the weather is favorable and there is hot mix available to fix those trenches, we've allowed contractors to go beyond November 15th. And I suspect that due to the timeline that Amarillo is working under and the deadline for getting all the work done, I suspect that they're going to ask for additional time this season to be able to get some of that work done. So what we see out there is just temporary. It's not the finished product. The finished product is going to be far more beautiful. It's going to have the sidewalk on the south side. It's going to have the bike lane on the south side. It's going to have curbing. It's going to have sidewalks on the north side. So what's out there now is nice, but it's going to be a lot better when it's completed.
Right. So the next step, the next part of the digging after Monday is going to be for the utilities, for the overheads to go underground?
That's correct. And remember, we're undergrounding over. All those overhead utilities are going underground from roughly the common to the fire department. So there's a lot of vaults that have to go in the ground. There's a lot of conduits that have to be constructed. So all of that work is forthcoming.
Now, and I assume all those utilities will be in the road and not on the sidewalk, because if I remember, there's a big AT&T fiber that goes under the sidewalk on Main Street. Will all the underground wires be mostly in the road?
Yeah, the majority of the electric is going to go right down the center of the road, and that's the next part that Amarillo is going to be doing. They're going to be burying large vaults. I think they're 9 feet wide by 15 feet long by 12 feet deep. So these are massive vaults that are going to be put in the center of the road. And then we've also got to put vaults in for the for the cable television and for the telephone. So a lot of work is going to be happening between the common and the fire department over the next year, I would say.
And that also includes the town's INET. I guess we'll go under the telephone stuff.
Yeah, everything that you see overhead now will be underground. All those telephone poles will be gone. They'll be replaced with beautiful time period or historic looking lamp posts. So all of that area, it's actually going to be stunningly beautiful when it's done.
Right, I've seen the drawings and everything, and I've seen what other projects have done, how they modified the street lights, because you're not going to have just the light poles over the street. You're going to have gorgeous street lamps that will aim the light. I can imagine how they incorporate the beauty with the new technology, because they're not going to be any of these halogen lights or anything like that. They're all going to be energy friendly fixtures.
Yeah, they're going to be LED lights. Again, they're going to be on historic poles, so you're not going to see a utility pole, a wooden pole sticking out of the ground. If you go down to that section of Main Street and you look up, look at how many wires are overhead. All of that visual clutter will be put underground.
That's awesome. I tell you, I'm excited for it. I know it's years in the making, and it's not going to be done tomorrow, because everyone knows Rome wasn't built in a day, and neither was downtown Hopkins. So there'll be some nice addition. And what's going on? Everyone's been asking what's going on Main Street there, out back behind that building next to the Muffin Man. the Muffin House. What's all that construction back there?
So there's a private developer, a local developer, Chuck Joseph, who has purchased that land, and he's putting in a number of condominiums in the back. The other big benefit for the community is that there is a public parking lot that's going to go in just behind those two existing buildings. There'll be a public parking lot with a number of spaces. So those folks that are looking for downtown parking, that's going to be something that will be a huge benefit to us, that we've got now additional downtown parking. In addition to the street side parking, we're going to have additional parking there in front of the condos.
That's upstairs. That's why I wanted to. A lot of people didn't understand. Everyone kept putting up in arms. Oh, they're putting in, more builders. And they says, we got no parking. And I says, well, you don't realize there isn't going to be a parking lot there, municipal spot. And that's right there in the middle of downtown. You couldn't ask for a better spot.
Right. And it won't be taken up by the condominiums. The condominiums will have their own parking spaces. So these are public parking spaces that are meant for the public to use, whether you're visiting the restaurants downtown, the Muffin House, town hall, library, the church behind, any of those spots. That this will be public parking.
Sure. Now, you've been big. We're gearing up for, like I said, that little race coming and all your. So all the guys down on the common today putting up that big famous sign. It all starts here. I saw that go up today, and everyone's getting ready. Other than your work to get done, I heard you had a little help from the Sustainable Green Committee.
Yeah, shout out to Peggy Barton and all the other members of the Sustainable Green Committee. They had 2 Saturdays ago, they put out a call for volunteers, and I think they had around 80 volunteers that came. We provided them with gloves and with the yellow bags to collect litter across town. So they went around the Common, they went around Center School, they went into some of the neighborhoods. They collected over 100 bags of litter from the roadside, which we truly appreciate. Litter is an ongoing thing for us to try to address. I would ask folks that if you have litter in your hands while you're driving, hold on to it, please, and dispose of it properly when you get home. We end up with so much litter on the side of the roads, and it's really a challenge for us to keep up with it and to keep Hopkinton looking beautiful. It's a beautiful community, especially the downtown, and to have litter on the streets, it's really bothersome to see. So we try to collect it as best we can. We have the new litter control vacuum that we use on the roadsides, but it was great for the Sustainable Green Committee and those 80+ volunteers that came out to help us out and collect all that litter for us.
Well, yeah, that is outstanding, because I mean, you only have so many employees, and all these miles of road that we have in town. It's going to be tough to maintain, and I love it when you see a DPW truck going down the road, then all of a sudden they stop, throw their lights on, and they get out because they see someone throw out like a box of something on the side of something that fell off a truck or some debris, and they just go over and pull it up. But they're not always. I mean, they're going to a job to do work. Now they're stopping from doing that work to pick up trash, which you do assign people to do, but it's nice to see that they're not just driving by, leaving it there.
Yeah, thank you very much. We take great pride in the work that we do and great pride in how the town of Hopkinton looks. And if we see, like you said, if we see that, we'll stop and we'll pick it up. But I appreciate you bringing up the Sustainable Green Committee. That was a big help to us.
Yeah, and now we'll talk about your boys, because I went downtown for a flu shot today, and I saw the guys getting the common ready, putting up our famous sign, getting the Center School beautiful. I mean, your landscape division is like spot on. I mean, I couldn't be prouder to say Hopkinton's my common. It's just gorgeous work. But there's a lot more to getting the common prepped up to get ready for this race. I mean, what kind of work is the DPW doing?
So thank you very much for asking. Mike Manser in the Highway Division, Eric Carty in the Water Sewer Division, and both of those teams, they work not just the work that you see today, but they've done a lot of work leading up to this marathon. And it's typically, remember, it typically happens in the spring, Patriots Day, but now it's happening on Indigenous Peoples Day. So it's a different time of year for us. It's also going to be a different marathon. We're not going to have the typically we take the bleachers from the high school and we put those at the start line. Those aren't going to be there this year. There'll still be platforms for videos and the news stations and the announcers, but it's a little bit scaled back and it's a little bit different because of the global pandemic. But the guys have been working very hard. All the things that you see, like you had mentioned, cleaning up the center school and the common and setting out the sign that reads "It all starts here." There's a lot of work that happens behind the scenes to make sure that we're ready, and that when all those runners come, they can run, and they only have to worry about hydration and running for 4 hours and aches and pains. They don't have to worry about the conditions that they're running on. So we're very proud of the work that we do there.
Yeah, guys, Ross. So, and then, and of course, on the race day, you will be out there in support, with barricades for security, and as well as picking up as they go, because everyone knows once that last runner crosses that line, that starting line, you guys are right there behind them, picking up. And I come back into town an hour after the start, 2 hours after the start. It didn't look like there was a race there.
The guys do a fabulous job, and kudos to them. They do a great job. As you said, an hour after, you'd never know that there were 20,000 plus people here. It's just a credit to their dedication to the work that they do.
That's great. So I saw this little video, and it kind of brings tears to my eyes. And you guys are thinking about snow already too. Here it is, October, and it's not just seeing the Christmas decorations up in stores. I'm seeing salt being loaded. What's up?
You can probably count as many times as I can how many times we've had either unexpected ice storms in October or snowstorms in October. And it's our responsibility to make sure that we're ready and prepared should we have an unexpected event like that. We have to be ready 24/7 for anything that's brought our way. So we're going through all of our vehicles to make sure that the plows are working properly, that the sanders are working properly. We are filling our salt shed. As you saw on Twitter, there's a great video in there of us taking the loader and just building a ramp and going up and dumping tons and tons. It's a mountain of salt so that we're ready.
Right. And one thing I want to mention to everyone real quick while we got a couple minutes is that you use salt now. You no longer salt sand mix. You're not mix all this stuff. You found out that it's more cost effective to just go with the salt.
That's correct. I think it was probably 3 or 4 years ago, we switched over from a mix of sand and salt to just purely salt. And we're actually putting less material on the roads. There is less pollution potential into the wetlands. All that sand would end up in the catch basins. And if they overwhelm the catch basins, it would end up in our streams and our rivers. So now we don't get any of that. There's much less to clean when we sweep the streets in the spring. Catch basins don't have as much material, so that's cheaper to clean and dispose of. And the community, come springtime, there isn't a lot of sand on the road, so it's safer for pedestrians and bicyclists. So it really helps out all around. And we're saving the money of not buying sand, which really doesn't add a lot. It's just immediately when the sand goes down, it helps provide some grit, but it quickly breaks down. So we've removed that expense, we've removed that maintenance, and it's really benefited us greatly.
That's outstanding. Now, do you still fill up the little sand buckets like on the hills and down at like senior centers that were placed around the town? And I know sometimes I used to come down and fill up a bucket of sand at the DPW garage. Can citizens still do that?
Yeah, so we do still have those buckets around town. There's a lot of them out there. As you mentioned, there's also, if there are hilly areas, there are buckets that we put out. But we've relocated that salt and sand pile. It's now down at Fruit Street. And it's been there a couple of years because we don't have the room here at our new facility. So it's down, if you go down to 66 Fruit Street and just drive the driveway as though you were going out to the athletic fields, before you cross through that gate, just beyond the garage, there's a sand pile right ahead of you, and there's a sign that says resident sand pile. That's and awesome. People can go down and help themselves.
That's great. Well, John, again, and you're not going to believe this, we are out of time.
Wow. Time flies when you're having fun.
Time flies when you're having fun, and you got a lot of stuff to talk about. There's still tons of things I want to ask you, but I guess I'm going to have to wait till next month. How does that sound?
That sounds terrific. I can't wait to come back. I appreciate the time to let our folks know what's going on, the great work that we're doing, hearing the questions and concerns that are out there. So look forward to seeing you next month.
Great, John. Thank you again. We'll see you soon.
Thanks a lot. Take care.
Thanks, Mike, and thank you, John, for appearing on the show. That's all we have for this episode of the Hangout Hour. I'd like to remind you that the Hangout Hour airs every Wednesday at 7 p.m. And if you or someone you know would like to get involved and be on the show and just talk about something you know is happening in town, then feel free to get into contact with us. We'd love to have you on. Well, thank you again so much for watching. We'll see you next week.